over the next 2 seasons to fill that, and they're in no rush to return to any form whatsoever. I mean, Jay, remember, they're still in the AFC East, and last I checked, your coach and quarterback don't look like they're retiring anytime soon. So what's the rush?
I'm trying to see. I don't see a team in the other East division. I don't see a team in the North. I would have said the Bears, but they're very loyal to Trubisky, so that wasn't going to happen. In the South divisions, I would say maybe the Buccaneers, but again, Arians seems to be extremely loyal to Jameis Winston, maybe even to a fault. In the West, I mean, John Elway loves him some quarterbacks, and they benched Joe Flacco.
Yeah, but remember, the guy they drafted, Drew Lock, is on injured reserve, so it's pretty much his job next year. I'm surprised the team you didn't mention was the guy who got benched on his birthday.
Yeah, we'll come back to Cincinnati when we talk about Cincinnati. I didn't mention Cincinnati for a particular reason. The other team that there were a lot of rumors about Rivers, because Rivers is at the end of his contract.
Guaranteed money is pretty much up.
Yeah, the Chargers might have been an interesting place for Mariota, even as just the backup and the guy ready for next year.
Yeah, but let's say this is the last year of Rivers' guaranteed money. They can part ways with him and not take any cap hits. They're going to look for somebody who can step in and win now. I mean, the way this team is constructed, it is talent-laden across the board on both sides of the ball. There may be some issues scheme-wise, but they have Pro Bowl caliber players at every level of both offense and defense. And whatever quarterback they get to step into to replace Rivers has to be a notch above, at least 2 steps above what he's been playing the last 2 seasons. Because let's be real, it's been subpar for years, but it's been grotesque this year especially. And last year, despite the record, wasn't anything to write home about. So the next guy who plays quarterback is going to have to pretty much be on the level of win now mode, and that's not Mariota. He's not equipped for that. His game, the offense that you design around him, needs to look something like what a Greg Roman would design, a la what Lamar Jackson is running right now.
So I think what we're saying is Mariota doomed to be a backup quarterback somewhere next season, and there aren't that many open spots in the NFL right now.
There really are. And you know, I'm pretty sure there's a team we're overlooking who's pretty much going to jettison his quarterback next year and just, you know, aside from Miami, and just start over from scratch. Because it happens every year. There's always that team that's like, okay, well, they're set at quarterback and they don't do anything in the draft, and they pick up, you know, a guy who no one expects to start in the offseason, and when a new season starts, that guy becomes the starter and it's out of left field, and it's like, well, no one saw this coming. So, you know, one team will do that in the offseason. We just don't know who it is right now.
Well, I think it won't be the Indianapolis Colts, who apparently have found their guy in Jacoby Brissett. They're 5-2. They are on the road visiting the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are now 3-4. Colts are 10th in our power rankings. The Steelers 22. This is a pick'em game. Steelers have actually won the last 5 versus the Colts, and the defense has a +10 when it comes to takeaway giveaway ratio. But this may be faint praise. I like the Colts, who barely squeaked out the win versus a horrible Broncos team, better than a Steelers team that took a half before they could get things going straight versus the lowly Dolphins. You are also taking the Colts in this game.
Yeah, I think across the board, the Colts are just a better team right now. The Steelers, fighting Miami 14 points in a 17-3 lead in a game before you actually decide, hey, we're playing the winless Dolphins, let's wake up. Not a recipe for success I want to mimic for the rest of the year. And I don't know, you know, what was said in the halftime locker room, what got them turned around, what changes were made as far as play calling, because Mason Rudolph did not look NFL ready Monday night. As far as the Colts go, I chalked last week up to just 2 good defenses beating up, you know, offenses that were basically overwhelmed by what they were facing. I think the Colts have the better defense here. They get the best of Mason Rudolph this week, and they capitalize a lot more than what Miami did on Monday night. Showing up on the injury report for the Indianapolis Colts, Tyquan Lewis, Pierre Desir, and Kari Willis, all questionable for the Steelers. Ramon Foster, Jalen Samuels, Benny Snell, James Conner, all listed as questionable. And when your entire backfield is on the injury report, that's not good early in the week. Samuels is still nursing the knee. Snell has a knee, and Connor's AC joint will limit him early this week. So keep an eye out for those running backs by Friday to see what's what.
Did you say Benny Snell is on that injury report too?
Yes, he is.
So we're down to Trey Edmonds and Roosevelt Nix as your options at running back. Roosevelt Nix is fullback. Right. Interesting. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. I know Mason Rudolph was coming out of the concussion protocol, but they were also coming off a bye week, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I wonder if perhaps they overlooked Miami and perhaps were preparing for Indianapolis. I'm trying to come up with an excuse for Pittsburgh because they look.
Yeah, there's no excuse, Jay. There's no excuse. That was the worst football I saw them play in the first half that I have seen in my 40-plus years of existence.
And Rudolph looked great in the game that he came in. He looked fine. He looked like a capable quarterback before the concussion.
He did.
And he seemed to be. He had a lot of confidence. I don't know. I don't know. I'm looking for something for the Steelers. I can't find anything. I just feel much more confident with the Colts than I do with the Steelers.
Whether it was him picking up the read early, recognizing the defense, or just standing in the pocket for far too long, waiting for Juju Smith-Schuster to come open, which he should have known going in. Smith-Schuster was going to be double-teamed on almost every play. Go to your second option first. I don't know why that adjustment wasn't made after the first series, or why that wasn't reiterated as far as the offensive game plan. But those are things that, as an offense and a quarterback, you should know going in. My number one target will most likely be double-teamed. Let me not tunnel in on him on the first pass of the game.
And what could be a game of the week? The Minnesota Vikings 6-2 on the road at the Kansas City Chiefs 5-3. The Vikings are 7th in the power rankings. The Chiefs have fallen to 8th. Due to our home field advantage rules, though, the power rankings will take the Kansas City Chiefs. Vikings are favored by 2.5. And although Matt Moore had 299 passing yards and 3 passing touchdowns, no picks in his only career start versus Minnesota, that was 2009 with Carolina. Kansas City enters week 9 with the 4th-ranked scoring offense, 28.3 points per game. Minnesota allows the 3rd fewest points per game, 16.5 in the league. They also have their running back Dalvin Cook, who leads the NFL in scrimmage yards, 1,116, 9 rushing touchdowns, and has recorded at least 145 scrimmage yards in 3 of his 4 road games so far this year. To me, this game comes down to if Pat Mahomes is playing. It sounds like he probably is. And if so, is he healthy enough to beat that defense? I think it's going to be close, but not quite. I'm going to take the Vikings. I do not feel very confident about that because, listen, I've gone against Patrick Mahomes before. You do not want to go against Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, no, you don't. And I'll be closely watching Patrick Mahomes' health for the rest of the week. This game, if he doesn't play, I'm going to flip a coin because, like you said, it's in Arrowhead, Minnesota on the road. Call it what you want. Running game, defense, they're still a dome team. And I don't like them outdoors too much. So, yeah, if Mahomes plays, slam dunk, I'm picking the Chiefs. I don't care what happens. If he doesn't play, I'm flipping a coin and letting that decide because these teams are pretty much even otherwise. Injury report for the Chiefs, though, guys who didn't play Sunday against Green Bay, Chris Jones, Frank Clark, are still listed as questionable. Kendall Fuller, Brashard Breeland, the corners are both listed as questionable. Breeland sustained a shoulder injury in that game on Sunday. Eric Fisher is still out. Laurent Duvernay-Tardif who has his doctorate, by the way. He left the Packers game on Sunday with an ankle injury. He is listed as questionable for this coming Sunday. And Andrew Wiley, guard, also listed as questionable. So there are problems on both lines for the Kansas City Chiefs up against the Minnesota Vikings. Mahomes is officially listed as doubtful as of right now.
That's an interesting listing for him because he was practicing with the scout team. We saw him throwing during the pregame on that Sunday night game. And he said that if it was a playoff game, he'd be playing. But it's a regular season game, and he's not. I mean, the Chiefs, they have a little bit of a lead in that division, but I don't think they want to play too much with the lead that they currently have in the West.
Yeah, I mean, when the Raiders, I believe, are the second-place team right there, hovering around 500, and they might be the only team over it. It's a cushion to have, but you still want to try to get one of that's only first-round bye that's available because we know where the first one is going. For the Minnesota Vikings, they did put Josh Doxson with a hamstring on injury reserve. Tight end David Morgan will not play this week, and Adam Thielen is nursing a hamstring. He's questionable, which means he'll be ready by Sunday. Vikings' recipe for success here: run Dalvin Cook into the ground, use play action with Cousins. It seems to have been working the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, either way, I do suspect that we'll see some sort of shootout. I mean, Matt Moore looked just fine in the Sunday night game, just couldn't get the job done.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was pretty much him or the defense slacking because the first half was a game of 2 quarters. You know, Green Bay ran out early in the first quarter to take a 14-0 lead, and then Kansas City fought back to take a 17-14 lead at halftime. And whatever adjustments Green Bay made in the second half were enough to, sustain them and limit Kansas City the rest of the way. Mahomes just brings something different to this offense. And nothing against Matt Moore. He played admirably well Sunday night, but he's not Patrick Mahomes. And the creativity when something's not there to extend the play, to allow guys like Kelsey and Hill to scramble around back there and lose their nearest defender and be wide open with the nearest guy 12 yards away. Matt Moore is not that guy.
The New York Jets are 1-6. They visit the 0-7 Miami Dolphins. Dolphins remain at 32, not unanimously though. In our power rankings, the Jets also remain at 29. They are favored by 3 points. The game is in Miami. I'll bet the Dolphins will be wearing white. It'll be more than just because they're the home team.
What gave you that idea?
They like to play in their whites because they're cooler uniforms in the Miami Heat. Darnold hasn't beaten the Dolphins yet in his career. In fact, Miami has won the past 3 versus the Jets. This is a different Dolphins team that doesn't want to win. I'm going to lock in the Jets. This is probably my weakest lock of the year. But unfortunately, other teams that I could have locked in, really only the other team I could have locked was the Niners. I don't feel as comfortable. I feel more comfortable with the Jets as a lock than the Niners as a lock. I'll just put it that way.
Wow. That's saying a lot. I don't know how I feel about the Jets after the way they stunk it up against the Jaguars last week. I mean, it was one thing to lose to the Jaguars. Don't get me wrong. The Jaguars are a very solid team with Minshew mania going on and everything, but they weren't competitive in that game by any stretch. Sam Darnold pretty much is now going to get trolled from here to the end of the season with the other team's mascot coming out wearing a sheet holding a sign that says "Ghost on the field." I don't know where to begin with this team. Free Le'Veon Bell, fire Adam Gase, get a new defensive coordinator. Greg Williams should never work in the NFL again in his life. This is his last season coordinating the defense.
I disagree with that. I don't think Greg Williams is a bad coach. He's clearly a decent coach.
Yeah, his defenses don't get the job done consistently.
That is true. I will give you that. The other thing is free Le'Veon Bell. They apparently tried. They just weren't getting any value. But they also apparently tried to free everybody.
Money.
Well, they also tried to free everybody. They tried to trade away Jamal Adams.
Sam
They tried to trade
and one person on the defense.
Quinnen Williams, their first-round draft choice. That was it.
2 people.
They tried to get rid of everybody.
Yes. And it rubbed Adams the wrong way.
Yeah. Well, and apparently, so the way the story goes is Jamal Adams sat down with the GM and Adam Gase and said, I want